Hi, I'm Michael Fry, President and CEO of Deepwater Subsea. In this episode of The Daily Grind, I talk about how your career is a ball of clay, and it's up to you to mold it into the perfect masterpiece. Let's get into the show. For this daily grind, I want to kind of keep it simple. We're all a ball of clay. And when we show up to the workplace as a trainee or as an assistant or just to a new assignment, we all are just that unmolded ball of clay. It's up to us as individuals to mold ourselves into the perfect pot as we go up through our careers. Sometimes you might be looking at what you've developed and say, hey, look, I think this is great. But companies and other employers and just people that you work with might think differently. And sometimes you have to take that ball and kind of remold it. And if you keep modifying it and molding it and try to improve all the time, sooner or later you're going to have that perfect pot. You're going to have that masterpiece. And what a lot of people forget is that they think where they're at in their careers, that is the masterpiece. And unfortunately, we can always improve. We can always remold ourselves. We can always search for perfection. I talk a lot about looking in the mirror, seeing where you're at in your career, finding those gaps. Sometimes it's tough to sit back and say, hey, look, what are my deficiencies? You're looking at the pot, you see a masterpiece. Somebody else looks at the pot and they see a ball of clay. What's important is understand what it is you need to do to get to the next level, especially in this downturn. Sometimes you have to redesign yourself as an individual. You might think, oh, I'm going to show up. I remember my first job in oil and gas. There was an individual who used to show up and he had spiked chains, he wore leather. And my supervisor said, hey, look, here, that's not how we do things. You come to work in a professional environment, you're going to look professional, you're going to represent the company, this department, and this rig. And so that person either had to change or go away. Now, ultimately, this person was let go because this quality of work was not to the standard that we held on the rig. But what I found interesting is there's a lot of people who back 3, 4, 5 years ago, hell, 2 years ago, it used to be, you don't like it, I'm going to quit, I'm going to go somewhere else. But in today's market, sometimes you have to evolve, you have to remold yourself into that new person. Look at that ball of clay that you have and always try to improve on it. It could be professional development training, it could just be your attitude. I had a performance appraisal one time and my director, who I highly respect, said to me, he says, you know what, Mike, something I need you to work on. And I said, okay, well, what is it, sir? And he says, everybody in the field is not like you. You're too intense. You hold them to too high of a standard, because I wanted perfection from the guys on the rigs, just like I would hold myself to try to deliver perfection when I was in the workplace. What I had to understand is everybody wasn't like me, so I kind of had to remold my attitude when it came to dealing with people. And that was for me taking a step back, because coming out of the military, it was perfection, perfection, perfection. And I had to understand that everybody with their careers didn't desire the same thing that I did. It didn't mean I had to change as an individual my methodology. It just meant I had to mold myself a little bit differently when I dealt with other people. So take a look in the mirror, understand what it is. We all have the same ball of clay. The important thing is how you mold it is what's going to determine your future in the oil and gas industry, or actually in any industry. You could be a good cook, but you want to improve. Well, how do you do that? You got to constantly tweak and improve your recipes. You could be a good, woodsman. You could be a good whatever. As long as you're constantly trying to improve yourself, you're gonna get better and better and better. Now, sometimes it's gonna be challenging yourself, going outside the box, professional development training, just immersing yourself in the different fields that you work in. But always try to mold yourself, always try to improve, constant, professional development, constant, tweaking here and there. And ultimately, when you get to the end, you're gonna find that you've reached the level that you wanna get to in your career. Never stop hustling, keep pushing, and remember, everybody has the same opportunity. It's all on how you develop yourself that's going to get you to the end. Something to think about.